Okay, so here we are, day 3. What I'm going to look at next is the cabling from this box here. Okay, so these cables are not long enough to reach the connections here. Now I could probably mount that there, but I'm worried that the grill is going to hit that. There's just not going to be enough room behind the grill, because don't forget the grill slopes in like that. It's going to hit here. If that was like that, then it's just going to really restrict the airflow through the radiator. So I've decided to mount it here, and to start with I will use the remote control wireless controllers, and then at some point I will look at extending that up to a socket, like a sort of a chassis mounted socket, possibly on the slam panel or another headlight or something like that. We'll worry about that in the second video. Okay, so my aim for today is to get this winch running, because I haven't even powered it up yet. I want to know that it actually works before I start refitting the front end. So what am I going to do? Right, I need to take this box apart. There are some screws on the back there, so I can take that apart. I went to Halfords this morning and they didn't have reels of cable like this, okay, battery cable. They had some short earth straps, and when I say short, they were about 20 centimeters, maybe 30 centimeters long, just not long enough. I need probably nearly a meter of wire by the time this has gone down in that box and connected to whatever it needs to connect to. I don't even think half a meter is going to be long enough. So they didn't have many earth straps in stock. They only had black or braided. They didn't have any red. So I thought, what am I going to do? And then I spotted set jump leads. These were on special offer, cheap jump leads, and these are 3 meters long, and they're really nice thick cables. You can just about see the cables down in there. They look exactly the same thickness as these cables. Okay, so 3 meters of red and black for about 13 quid, which I thought was quite a bargain actually. So what I'm going to do is butcher these, cut the crock clips off, and then I've got loads of cable then. I also bought a load of these kind of end pieces here, so I'll need to either crimp or solder those onto the ends of the cable. So that's the plan for this morning, is get this wired up. As for mounting this box, I haven't worked that out yet. I'm unsure at the moment how to do that. It did come with a little bracket, but I just don't think I can actually really use that. There's nothing to really attach it to. The bracket might be able to go downwards and then drill a couple of holes through the steel there, or maybe I can do something with all this paraphernalia on the side of the radiator. There is a sort of there's something there actually which looks, it's kind of like a piece of plastic with a hole in, but it's a little way back, but might be able to do something with that. I really just need to kind of stop this from flying around somehow. Maybe something coming out off one of these bolts, just a sort of piece of metal to kind of hold that in like that. I'll have a think about that. That will be a job for this afternoon, and then once this is connected and I've powered it up and I know that the winch can run in and out, I then need to make the hole, remove the number plate. I've ordered a square number plate. It's going to be a few days. Halfords have to they only stock the long ones like this, so you have to kind of show identification and the logbook to prove ownership and all that stuff. I went through all that this morning, and then they said, oh well, we don't stock the square number plate. So this one for now, because I've got to drive up to Manchester tomorrow, I am going to have to just sort of bodge this one on either down below somehow, or possibly stick it up onto the roof rack or something, just as a temporary measure. And then I will be then fitting a square number plate somehow here. I'm not really sure yet how I'm going to do that, but there's just not enough room for a long number plate at the side, so I'm thinking a square one here, or sort of here, maybe with a little hole for the parking sensor. I don't know, we'll worry about that later, but what I do know is the fairlead has to come out where the number plate is, which is slightly annoying. I suppose just temporarily, if the fairlead is sort of here, Kitty, Kit, leave the birds alone, down. If the fairlead is here, then I could actually just carefully drill this and just move that down, just temporarily. I don't want to restrict too much airflow through the grills here, but I could just move that down. That would do for a few days until I work out what I'm going to do as a permanent solution. Okay, so I've just removed the screws from the back of this box. Let's see what's inside. Okay, what have we here? Some kind of sealed control unit and another sort of a seal potted kind of thing there with the resin in it to no doubt sort of encapsulate some electronics. That's actually loose. Is that meant to be? That's meant to be clipped in actually, but anyway. So this here, I was expecting a bank of relays inside here, but there's obviously one big double pole relay in here to kind of send the current in one direction or the other to drive the winch forwards and backwards. So what I need to do is one by one replace these short wires with longer ones. Okay. This one here, I've taken the clips off. This one here, which goes to the battery, is really long. It's more than long enough to get to the battery. So it's just these three. So we've got red, black, and then black with a yellow end to it. So I'm hoping to be able to reuse these coloured boots on the end. They should hopefully just slide off. Yeah, they do. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So I'll do them one by one so I don't mix them up. And yeah, I mean, they're bolted on here with these kind of eyelets on the end. But I'll have to undo these cable glands here. This funny little cable here, this is literally just a sort of an earth connection, probably for radio interference suppression. There's not going to be any current going down this, it's really small. This is also not long enough to get to, I think it goes to the same terminal as this black one. I'll have to double check the wiring diagram. But that may need replacing. Now if I do replace that, I'm not too happy with it kind of piggybacking out of this cable gland here. That's just not the done thing really. That's the grommet in there is going to be unlikely to seal properly around two cables like this. There's going to be a little gap, and with this pointing upwards, water could come through the grill and get down in there. So I think what I'm going to do, if I've got to replace this, is I'm actually going to drill the side and put a separate small grommet with a separate grounding cable coming out of there. Just makes it a little bit neater really. Don't really like this like that. Right, okay, time to cut some cable and get these replaced. so we now have some longer wires. Okay, so we extended these cables out using 16mm square or 16 square millimeter cross-sectional area cable. It's very slightly smaller than the other one, but I think this has just got thicker insulation on it actually. These are rated 250 amps, which should be plenty for the winch. So yeah, so hopefully they'll be okay. And then the little earthing wire, I've just taken that through a hole there. I didn't actually have a really small grommet to put there, but this is plastic, and I drilled the hole so that it was pretty much an interference fit through there, so very, very tight fit, so no water's going to get in. And that is literally just we'll have an eyelet put on the end. It's just an earth connection between the box and the winch, presumably for radio interference or whatever. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is put that in position. What I'm hoping to do is actually attach the bracket on the back there and then drill through here, a couple of holes there, and stick a couple of bolts through there, or under there. There's already a hole there actually underneath, so that would then be sort of in position there, but not actually bolted to the tray. It will just be bolted across to the engine compartment bodywork here. I think that would be okay. It will also, and this is quite important, it will also allow me to raise that very slightly so that the wired remote control could be connected, or an extension wire. If I do plug the remote control in directly there, then it will just need to be permanently left connected and then hooked up somewhere in the engine bay. So we'll see if the wireless remotes are any good first. Okay, so that's that. So what I need to do now is work out where these wires go. So what we've got here is, that is the yellow. I did take a photo of the interior of the box before I put the lid on so I can remember what's what. So that's yellow, and then red, and then black, and then this bigger red is the one that goes to the car battery. So I pull that out, get that out and keep it separate. Okay. So what I need to then do is neatly somehow run these along. Now I'm hoping I can kind of carefully sort of cable tie them to that. Now there are actually some little tiny recesses here. There's actually 3 of them, which are quite useful because I probably picked that up for a cable tie. I mean, all the rope pretty much is on the reel now, so if there was a cable tie here, I don't think it's going to get worn through by the rope winding on the drum. So alternatively, I could attempt to drill this and put some P-clips on, but I don't really want to do that. Okay, so these are too long, of course, because they're just 2 halves of a jump lead and then the rest of the jump lead for the red. So I'll be connecting this, or securing this cable down, and then cutting these so that they're exactly the right length to go to here, and then I'll put eyelets on the end, crimp and solder, or solder and crimp, so that it's a really good, strong, high current connection. I soldered the ones in here, I soldered using just using a little kitchen blowtorch actually, and some solder. That seemed to work very well, so I'll do the same at these ends. Then that one goes there, and then we have another black cable to the battery, which goes to black, which is this one. And yeah, and then we can power it up, see if it works. This little wire here will just also go to black. Yeah, I need to check the need to check the wiring. Oh, hang on, I've just noticed something. Oh, there's another terminal underneath. That must be the ground. Okay, so this is getting confusing now. So we've got black, yellow and red go to these three, and then the chassis earth and this little grounding wire must go to that one under there. I didn't even spot that. Okay, so that's under there. Right, I'm glad I spotted that, otherwise I've been putting them all onto this one here. Okay, right, let's get this wired up. Okay, so that's the power cables connected. What I need to do now is connect up the battery negative under here along with this one, this little one. I need to put an eyelet on the end of that. I should have actually tucked this one in here, because it can't run round the front, it's going to get caught up. And I don't really want it sort of trailing loose at the back there, so I will, these are actually releasable cable ties here. I'm hoping that the rope won't rub against those. There's a bit of clearance there, as long as it winds onto the drum correctly, it should be okay. There is actually a little recess there, so that sort of sits in slightly, possibly for that very reason, I don't know. But that's all there. Big nice colour-coded boots on the end. Coming over to here, so I need to mount this somehow and then run the cables up to the battery, and then we can actually power it up and see if it works. Okay, so I've managed to tuck that little wire down behind here. I've put these cable ties here right in the corner, so they're less likely to get worn through or caught. That one will just have to fend for itself there. So that's all looking nice. Nice, neat wiring job. This one's got its eyelet on the end now, and that needs to go underneath here somewhere onto that thing there. Go like that. But before I put that nut and washer on, I need to put the battery negative cable on. I'll remove those and rerun the battery negative through there as well, so that comes up through here. Now this is a little bit unprotected really, as it goes up through there. There's some fairly sharp edges on metal, so what I'm going to have to do is put some like P-clips or wiring cradles or something up in there, just to hold that nice and securely and stop anything rubbing through. Now, one thing that does seem to be missing from all of this installation is some kind of fuse. Okay, I'm not totally happy with just wiring that straight onto the battery positive. What I might try and do is get one of those kind of isolator keys like racing cars kind of have on the scuttle panel, so you can just turn off the power, actually wire it into there, and then it'll actually literally have a key and you can actually connect the power to the winch when required. I don't really want this permanently enabled really. So okay, that's another problem that I need to sort out. Okay, right, so I think we're finally cabled up here. So we've got red, yellow, black, and also the 2 ground connections underneath. Okay, so there's the big thick ground cable here, battery negative, and there's also this little thin wire here, okay, which just connects the 2 together somehow. So if that box is mounted something like that, then that thin wire can just be kind of cable tied down or whatever. And then these 2 go off to the battery. So what I'm going to do now is actually clear all of these tools and things off here and connect up the positive and the negative, and just see if this winch actually rotates. Okay, so now we're ready for a test run. Cabling all in place, box there. I've connected up this wired remote control, just with that wire there for now. These cables here are just connected onto the battery, and here we go, moment of truth. If I've not wired this up correctly, there's going to be a bang and a lot of smoke. Okay, ready? Aha, it works. Amazing. Oh, that's really good, that. I'm so pleased. That means everything's connected up correctly. So what I need to do now is make a hole in the front bumper for the fairlead to come through, and then put the front end back on. I'm not going to leave this connected permanently like this. I'll just sort of tie up the cabling until I've got an isolator switch and possibly some sort of big fuse or something installed. But that's just temporary, just to test it out. Okay, good, getting there. Before I bolt this in place and install the fairlead on the front of the bumper, I thought I'd quickly try out one of these. There are 2 of these. These are the wireless remote controls. Now, I sort of pressed this and it didn't do anything, thinking it probably needs batteries, but there is actually this little red button here, which seems to be some sort of on-off button. So that's good. I know that those work. So I've disconnected this. I'm going to put the dust cap back on there. And right, good. So before I cut the hole in the front of the bumper, I need to figure out how to attach this. So what I've done is I've put this bracket on the back that came with this box. It's meant to be put on the other way round, but I put the 2 bolts there, and then what I intend to do is drill 2 holes through to pick up those 2 lower holes through the side of the mounting tray vertical wall. Okay, so if I can lift that up a little bit, then it just leaves enough room to plug in there. If I need to plug that in, of course it would have to be left permanently plugged in. The wireless remotes seem to work okay, but I always want to keep the option of being able to use that. Okay, so even if I extend that up, I'm going to need to be able to plug into that. So if I can mount that like that, this is why I put those bolts that way round. So just pick up the two lower holes into there with some kind of spacers, a couple of nuts or something in between there. I'm not sure what yet. Should just need probably some M5 bolts actually. If I use M5 stainless bolts and nylock nuts, that'll hold that nicely in position. It's not then rubbing against the not the radiator, this is the condenser for the aircon, but I didn't want it to be rubbing against here because there's already paint starting to kind of come off that, so just don't really want to be fully hard up against that. So I think just like that is the perfect place for that. It's nicely back out of the way, it's got the wires coming out the top. I've seen other people install this that way around, so the wires sort of came up through here and across. I didn't want to do that. I just didn't like the idea of the wires getting trapped down in here. So that's the way it's going to go. I think that really is the way it's meant to go because of the writing on the label here. These are all nicely tightened down and sealed. So if water does kind of come through the grill and get onto here, it's not going to find its way into this box. I mean, interestingly, the back plate there, that's just screwed on by 4 screws. It didn't really seem to have a seal or anything. It just kind of sits, just sort of fits in the back. It didn't really screw down onto some kind of rubber seal or even a sort of a proper kind of ledge around the back. So if I do go wading, I need to be mindful that water could potentially get into that from the back, but yeah, we'll have to just sort of take care. I think really there's not a lot we can do about it. Okay, right, I'm going to get these holes drilled, get this bolted on, then it's the fairlead hole, front end back on, and we're nearly there. Okay, so I've drilled a couple of 5.5mm holes there. I'll fit some stainless bolts through, M5 bolts through to pick up that bracket. Okay, so what I've done here is just fitted some stainless steel M5 bolts, a couple of nuts and washers. Ideally I need some kind of tubular standoff there of 15mm and 20mm, 15mm for the bolt nearest the front of the car, 20 for the back, but just as a temporary measure for now, I've just put a couple of nylock nuts onto there. There we go. So now I can attach a couple of nuts and washers on the other side. The relay box doesn't weigh very much, so we don't need great big bolts for this. Okay, so if I can tighten that up now, let's just carefully tighten that. Nylock plastic seems to be coming out, but anyway, that's pretty strong. Actually, I should have probably reattached this to the bracket before tightening that up, but never mind, I can get a screwdriver in carefully from behind to pop those screws in. So that will sit like that, so it's just off the deck, just got enough room there to get that remote control wire in if necessary. And a good bit of clearance between the air conditioning and the back of the unit. Okay, right, 2 screws, and then that's it. Front end goes back on, finally. Okay, so I've removed the number plate. Now I need to make a hole here and drill 2 large holes for the bolts that go through here. Now this is a bit of a tricky one because whilst I can get that centered quite easily, I have no idea how far up and down this needs to be. Okay, so rather than risk making the holes in the wrong place, what I'm going to do is just make a pilot hole here, and because this area will be cut out quite a lot, and just offer up the front end and just see how close I am. Looking at other photos on the web of similar installs that other people have done, they actually had this actually sticking up a little bit above, not above this. They didn't have one of these covers fitted. They actually had just the normal kind of front bumper, but that's just below there. So that would probably be about there, just sticking up above this edge very slightly. It'd certainly be very close to where it needs to be, sort of vertically. So I'm going to make a hole here. Okay, so I'm going to go through with, say, about a 10mm drill here, and that will just give me a sighting then for where the cylinders are. See if I'm actually in the right sort of latitude for the fairlead mounting. Now, one thing I've just noticed before I start drilling is the washer hose runs quite close behind here along the back, so I've just unclipped that for now. Might have to reroute that if it's going to be right in the way of the fairlead. Now I've just drilled through here, just an 8mm hole for now, and you can see there's actually quite a big gap between this cover and the standard factory bumper. I didn't realise there was such a big gap between them. I thought this actually sat quite close to the bumper. So what that means is I'm not going to be able to just stick bolts in and tighten down. It's just going to crush that against that gap. So yeah, that's a bit of a problem. You really need some spacers or something between here and the front end. Oh dear, that is a pain because I can't even just unbolt this because it's got these parking sensors in. I don't know if they just press out. Oh dear. Okay. Right. Okay. Gonna need a bit of thought. I could probably, if I can make up some spacers, I could stick them in underneath here. Okay, because I can just pull that up and insert them in. Right, okay, I can't easily remove this. It was a big job fitting that. I don't really want to take that off. So what I'm going to do is make the hole here, make the hole in the normal car bumper from the other side, just slowly working out and enlarging that hole, probably with a jigsaw or a Dremel or something, and then I'm going to have a bit of a think about how I do that, really. I've just offered up the front end. It's all looking good. It's incredibly close to the grille here. This piece of the winch is actually pressing against the back of the grille. It's a problem, but I think it's just going to be okay. Just about. That is tight there. Very, very tight. Okay. Okay, so I've turned this bumper over. There's another problem. these two studs here are part of the fixtures for the bumper surround, and they're going to be right in the way of the fairlead. There's the pilot hole that I've made, so the fairlead will sit outside of there. So I have no choice now, as I'm running out of time, but to undo these, remove the bumper surround. I'm just going to really hope that these parking sensors come out easily. Remove the black surround, refit that another day, and that will get rid of those studs. I'll have to cut those off when I refit it, but I need to get moving really. I'm running out of time. I need to get this hole made and get that fairlead bolted on. Okay, so that's the bumper surround removed. I managed to remove the parking sensors. I've just kind of shoved them back through the original holes. That's not how they're meant to be. There's meant to be some kind of bezel thing, which has obviously been thrown away in the past. Right, okay, so I need to cut this out here. So I'm going to use the fairlead as a template. I've measured up by offering up the front, measuring the height from the top of the winch down. I believe that that is in the right place. That means that the fairlead mounting holes probably need to be sort of here and here. So I'll get the fairlead now and put that on as a template. So I've put that on, and I've just drawn around this opening with a permanent pen. I'll go and get a thicker marker pen and redo these little markings because they're very faint. So that's where I'm going to put it. So that's sticking up slightly behind there. That is centered, and I believe that that is going to be pretty much in the right place. What I'm going to do is cut this hole out first and just see if everything looks okay, and then drill these here only when I'm really sure that that is in the right position. There we go, that's a bit better. Right, that's what I need to cut out. It does need to be bigger than this, okay, otherwise we're going to have a sharp edge right here. So it needs to kind of go right out to about halfway across this, but that will certainly do for an initial hole to kind of see how things look. Okay, I'm going to offer that up and just see how that looks. Okay, I've just offered it up, that's looking good. These are in the right place, okay, for the bolts, and then this just needs making a bit bigger so that this edge is not visible. Okay, there we go, that's looking better. Let's just offer that up. Yeah, that's looking good. That's looking good. We can't see any of the edges there. Those holes need enlarging very slightly. But that is all looking absolutely spot on. Okay, so quick update on where I've got to. Front end is on. I've had to work hard on this because I'm running out of time, and I did a lot of this without filming. So front end back on, inner wheel arches are on, the spats are put back on the bottom there. Here's the hole for the fairlead. These holes here are not really lining up very well. I'm going to need to enlarge these a little bit. I'm going to put the fairlead on last. Now, a couple of things I've noticed is this winch is pressing really hard against the grille, and that has made putting these bolts up in here almost impossible to get in. Really difficult. So I've put a couple of cable ties as well around the parking sensors, just stop those falling back in. Amber strobes are just going to have to stay unwired for now. So only things left to do is headlights, headlight guards, sump guard underneath, and then the fairlead, and I'm going to do that last. Okay, once everything else is on and tightened up, and then once the winch is operational, I will disconnect these cables here because I don't need them to be permanently connected for now. I'll just disconnect those and tie them up out of the way. Right, this has been a really difficult project. 3 whole days it's taken me. Okay, headlights are back in, headlight guards are back on, sump guards on. We're nearly there now, nearly there. Just got to get this fairlead on. Okay, so I've had to enlarge these holes a bit actually. I thought they were in the right place, but they weren't. But that should all be covered up by the metal surround. Now I wish that they had given me Allen head bolts here, because I don't know if I can get a socket, just about get a socket in there. That's going to be long enough. See if I can see. It would have been much easier with Allen head bolts. Right, that's biting. Let's get the next one in. You see, the problem with this is you just can't get a grip of them. Okay. Now you can see that's actually pushing the bumper back a bit. There's a little bit of room behind between the metal cylinders. Right, that's it. I don't need to tighten these right up. I don't need to tighten that loads because it's just going to kind of crush that. But that is tight, as tight as I dare do it. Okay, so there we go. That's coming out of there. I need to clean the front of the car because it's been covered up for several years by the bumper surround. I'll need to figure out how I fit that. I'll do that in the next video, but for now I'm going to run without it. That is nice there. There's a couple of little sharp edges of plastic down there which I just need to trim that off. That's not too bad up there. Yeah, I just need to kind of get a file or something in there and trim off a few sharp bits, but that is on. That's on. It's all solid. One thing that I've noticed here is this is really close to the grille. It is actually pressing against the grille. Not ideal, but it's in, and the front end went on just about. There's a couple of things that don't look the same as they used to be. This bit here, I'm sure that never used to be there, so I don't know. I think the whole front end is bulging slightly, but it's on and it's solid. So let's see if I can wind this back in now. Right, the remote. That's good. So 2 more things to do before I pack up my tools for the night. I need to put a hook on here and attach that just underneath onto the factory towing eye or recovery point, and I need to put my number plate back on. So let's do the number plate first, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to get it in with that tie it down. So I have ordered a square number plate from Halfords, but it's going to be a couple of days for them to make that up. So what I've got to do is reattach this one somehow. So I'm thinking if I carefully drill this, got to make sure I don't make the letters change into different letters. Yeah, I think if I get it there, it's not quite centered, but at least the screw heads will be in the black of the letters there, so it won't sort of distort the letters into something different. Alternatively, I could go there, if I went there actually, and then use the white caps for the screws, and then the screws are in the white space. Yeah, okay, that's good, I'll do that. Put these caps on. There we go. Right. Okay. That's that. Right, let's find the hook. Okay, so this, now I've got to remove that split pin. Right, there we go, so I've just bent that round. I just want that sort of wrapped right round, so there's no danger of that coming out at all. Okay, right, there we go, there's our hook. Now, with the number plate there, this is going to risk obscuring the letters, and I'm going to end up getting pulled over for that. So that can't go down across the number plate. So I will need the offset number plate. Just for now, I think that's just going to have to go just like that. The numbers are still readable from just about from in front. Okay, that's it. Everything is back together. I've just been for a test drive and it's all fine. Everything is fine. So a couple of things. The number plate needs dealing with so that I can hook that down to the recovery point. That is just going to have to be there like that for now. I know it might scratch this a bit, but I'm going to be spraying the grill anyway at some point. So that's that. That just keeps it up out of the way so it's not obscuring any of the letters and numbers. Amber strobes need to be reconnected. I've just tucked those wires there for now, and the grill is pressing hard against there. I don't think I can remove that orange piece because that is sort of structural to the winch, so I may need to very carefully relieve a bit of the plastic here with the Dremel or something. Of course the bumper surround has not been refitted. I will have to refit that because I've got a load of holes here where it used to be. That's kind of it really. Everything is there. I've disconnected the winch for now from the battery just to avoid it being permanently connected. I'll put some sort of isolator switch in the engine bay soon for that. But yeah, all in all, a very, very long and difficult project. 3 days solid work doing that, and a lot of video footage filmed. I now need to edit that and condense that down into a video that's not too long, hopefully. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in part 3. it's the wrong colour. They've given me a number plate for the rear of the car,